Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm Evelyn host Shorty, and yes, literally like 10 minutes it seems as we did the video, but a lot of things to review this week, starting with Mad Cave Studios, Nottingham. I like this from the moment I saw that cover, and I think if you're a fan of comic books, you're probably looking at, yeah, I can see why, dude. That looks cool. It does look cool, doesn't it? It never got made on the list though. And it's not a criticism of Mad Cave Studios or the fact that sometimes I think judging what by its cover might not be the best thing in the world. It's simply I'm getting a few too many things at the moment, and I need to trim my orders. It's terrible the situation to be in a comic collector when you're like, but I wanna, but I can't. But because I am privileged enough to own a comic book store, I get to do the reviews, and that's cool. So I got to read something I probably wouldn't do otherwise, and I'm very glad I did. An absolutely brilliant issue one. We're going to talk about the artwork first before getting to the story beats, because there's a lot to discuss with that. But the artwork is something that stands up really quite nicely. There's obviously been quite a lot of care and attention put into finding out about the time period. It's very easy to assume that people are going to run around in full plate because everything's medieval full plate armor. No, it's mail with tin pot helmets, people using pole arms and halberds instead of swords far more often because metal not really easy to get hold of a lot of it, and buildings in the background looking kind of run down, and then the way they use lighting and how they show wind and rain, just brilliant. There's a couple of scenes outdoors at night where they've got the glow from the lighted indoors coming outside to people in the rain trying to break down doors. And it just looks brilliant. It's very, evocative is the word I probably should be using here. It's absolutely evocative. And as somebody who studied the period in history, yeah, I could probably go in there and I'll be like, oh, well, that's not quite the right arrowhead or whatever. But for the most part, I thoroughly enjoyed what I saw. There was effort made, and that was very, very cool. Another really nice point is that, well, the cover, that's Helmet, is a mask that the people, the merry men, are using when they're going out and attacking people, stealing their gold and murdering them. And it's clear that there's a deliberate point made there to make it look almost like an anonymous kind of mask. Not QAnon, anonymous, the Guy Fawkes, V for Vendetta kind of mask. I mean, it's not like a replica, obviously it isn't, but I think it's too close to it to say there's not like a point being made there. That we're looking at people who hiding their face for very good reasons, who think they're out there for the greater good. And that's when we want to talk about the story points. Because all the things about Robin Hood as a myth, and it is a myth, not real. Again, study the period extensively, not a real character. It's endearing because it's kind of like a culture of English and British people having the bad guy as a hero that they want to be able to be on the same side as. And in this situation, an awful lot of situations when you deal with Robin Hood, it's dealing with tax collecting and the King John the Usurper. Conveniently forgetting that King Richard was also not a great king who was off doing a bloody crusade and murdering lots of innocent people. And a lot of the time, that is overlooked. I don't want to get too much into that one. That's my own thing that I could talk about for a long time. I'm not going to. But in this one, the story seems to be that they're pushing the idea of how far would you be willing to let your anti-hero go and still be considered a hero. Stephen King did it in The Dead Zone, and I think it's a story point worth making. Now, I personally, I quite like the idea of the Robin Hood mythology because it's quite often seen as a more egalitarian way of living. It's basically dealing with rapacious tax collectors who pretty much always look after the poorest in society, and the idea that this money is then distributed to people and living as close as you can in the 12th century off the grid. And it's always been something which is appealing. I think for a lot of people it is. But it's a whole, well, if these people are going and robbing people and killing them, are they always going to be robbing and killing people guilty of these crimes, or are they doing it to people who just work in the state? Are the people working in the state willing accomplices, or are they basically taking the only way out of the situation, or the only way they see out of the situation? And that kind of moral grey area is taken to a much darker position in this comic book. It actually goes to exceptionally dark places at the end. I don't spoil what happens there, but just before the end, one of my favorite couple of pages it involves Robin of Locksley speaking to Maid Marian about what their overall plan is and their goals, and they lay it out for you quite clearly of who they are, what they want, and how they're going to go about it. But quite nicely, even though this is one of those very much tell don't show kind of moments, it in no uncertain terms leaves a lot of motivation unclear. And the fact that they're using each other for their own purposes, there's clearly areas where they're not talking to each other honestly and openly, which means as us watching the story unfold, they are the unreliable narrators on both parts. And it means, yes, this kind of obvious attempt to lay out everything, just to leaving more questions. And that's brilliant. It could have just been like, plan A, B, question mark, get money. It could be anything like ridiculous like that. But because they gave these people characters, it meant there was more going on. And that's when it runs true throughout, actually. The characterizations are brilliant. The sheriff comes across as actually reasonably sympathetic, as if he is just a person trying to stop crimes. But, well, we could get into a propaganda thing at that point. But since I'm already well over my time limit for this review, I'm going to leave it there. And I hope if you're looking to find a copy of this, you can read it and come to your own conclusions. But I, for one, thoroughly enjoyed it. That's it for now. I'm going to go and put a whole bunch of comic books away. But there's so many cool new things out this week, I'm probably going to do another review before I go home today. So until then, take it easy, stay safe. Bye.